The morning bells hadn't yet rung when Seojin slipped through the palace's back corridor, a leather satchel of herbs clutched against her chest. As the daughter of the royal poison taster, she'd learned early that survival in the palace meant being invisible, useful, and above all, never dreaming beyond her station. Her father had died testing the crown prince's wine 3 years ago. The official story was natural causes. Seojin knew better. "You're early again," came a cheerful voice from the shadows. She turned to see Prince Kang Min-jun emerging from behind a marble pillar, and her breath caught in her throat. Even after weeks of these chance encounters, his eyes still hit her like a physical dark, intense, framed by long lashes that most women would kill for. When he looked at her, really looked at her, it felt like he could see straight into her soul. "Your Highness." She bowed precisely, trying to ignore how her heart raced whenever those dark eyes focused on her with such attention. "Always so dedicated," he said, and when she looked up, his gaze was warm, appreciative in a way that made her forget to breathe properly. His eyes had this way of crinkling slightly at the corners when he was genuinely pleased, she'd noticed. It made him look more human, more approachable, devastatingly handsome in a way that made her stomach flutter. Seojin thought to herself that Prince Min-jun was completely out of her league. She was a servant girl who mixed herbs and tried to stay invisible. He was destined for greatness, for a beautiful princess bride, for a life she could never be part of. "How is your grandmother's cough?" he asked, and those expressive eyes showed genuine concern when she looked surprised. "You mentioned she was feeling poorly last week." The fact that he remembered made something flutter dangerously in her chest. She pushed it down ruthlessly. Of course he remembered. Prince Min-jun was famous for his attentiveness, his ability to make everyone feel important. It didn't mean anything special. "Much better, Your Highness. The honey and ginger remedy worked well." "I'm so glad to hear it." The relief in his eyes seemed genuine, so real that for a moment she let herself imagine what it would be like if he really cared about her grandmother's health because he cared about her. Then reality crashed back down. He was Prince Min-jun, beloved by the entire court, destined to marry some beautiful princess, heir to power and wealth beyond her. She was a servant girl who mixed herbs and tried to stay invisible. But when he asked about the different properties of mountain ginseng versus valley ginseng, his eyes bright with genuine curiosity, she found herself explaining in detail. And when he listened with that focused attention, those dark eyes never leaving her face, like her words were the most fascinating thing he'd ever heard, she couldn't help but feel a dangerous warmth spreading through her chest. "Fascinating," he said when she finished, and his eyes lit up with such intelligence and interest. "I never realized how complex your work really is. Most people just see mixing herbs, but it's actually quite scientific, isn't it?" Seojin thought that he seemed to think she was intelligent. The realization made her chest tight with dangerous hope, even as she reminded herself that he was just being polite. That's what princes did. They made everyone feel valued. It is, Your Highness. I'd love to learn more sometime, if you wouldn't mind teaching me." His request was so earnest, and those dark eyes held hers with an intensity that made her knees weak. "Would that be all right?" She found herself nodding before she could think better of it. "Of course, Your Highness." "Wonderful!" His eyes practically glowed with pleasure. "Oh, and please, when we're alone like this, just call me Min-jun. All this Your Highness business makes me feel like my stuffy older brothers." Fatigue. The way he said it, with that self-deprecating tone and those expressive eyes twinkling with humor, made her want to laugh. For just a moment, she let herself imagine what it would be like if this was real, if a prince really could be interested in a servant girl, if fairy tales actually seemed true. Then she remembered who she was. Seojin thought to herself he was just being kind. She wasn't special. "I should get to work," suddenly aware of how long they'd been talking. "Of course, but Seojin." He caught her arm gently, and when she looked up, his eyes were soft, almost tender. "Thank you for the conversation. It's refreshing to talk to someone who's passionate about their work." The sincerity in those dark eyes, the way they seemed to see right through her defenses, made her chest tighten with dangerous hope. As she walked away, she couldn't shake the memory of how his eyes had lingered on her face when she explained about the herbs. How his gaze had seemed different somehow. Not the practiced charm he showed the court, but something more real, more personal. But despite her stern self-lectures, she found herself looking forward to tomorrow morning with an anticipation that had nothing to do with herb cultivation. Over the next few weeks, their encounters became the highlight of Seojin's days and her greatest source of internal torment. Min-jun would appear in the herb garden during her morning work, always with some excuse, always with those intense dark eyes that made her forget every rational thought in her head. He'd ask about her plants with genuine curiosity, listen to her explanations with such focused attention that she felt like the only person in the world, and look at her with those warm, penetrating eyes that seemed to see straight to her heart. Seo-jin constantly reminded herself that it wasn't real. He was just naturally charming. This was how he treated everyone. But sometimes when he laughed at something she said, his eyes would crinkle with such genuine delight that she'd catch herself imagining impossible things. What it would be like if he really found her amusing, if he really enjoyed her company, if those beautiful dark eyes really lit up because of her. "What's that one?" he asked one, pointing to a delicate purple flower she was carefully transplanting. His eyes were curious, eager, and when he looked at her like that, with such complete attention, it made her feel dizzy. "Wolfsbane," she replied, then immediately regretted it. Wolfsbane was highly poisonous, not something she should be discussing with a prince. But instead of suspicion or alarm, his eyes widened with fascination. "Really? I've read about that in the old text. It's supposed to be incredibly dangerous, isn't it?" Seo-jin thought to herself that when he was interested in something, his eyes got so intense, so focused. His dark lashes were unfairly long for a man, she noticed, and the way he looked at her when she spoke, like he was memorizing every word, made her feel important in a way that was absolutely dangerous. She realized he made her feel special. That's why this was so dangerous. He made her forget her place. Very dangerous, she meant. Just touching it without gloves can cause numbness. Ingesting even a small amount could kill someone. But you're growing it anyway, for medicinal purposes. His eyes were so attentive, so genuinely interested, making her feel like her knowledge was valuable, important. She nodded cautiously. In extremely small doses, properly prepared, it can help with certain heart conditions, but it requires very precise knowledge to use safely. Knowledge that you have. His gaze was admiring now, those dark eyes warm with something that looked almost like pride. "You know, most people would be terrified to even touch something, but you handle it like it's no more dangerous than a daisy." The way he looked at her when he said it, those expressive eyes holding hers with such intensity, made warmth bloom in her chest. For a moment, she let herself imagine what it would be like he really was impressed by. If those beautiful eyes really saw her as someone special. Seo-jin thought that he was probably just making conversation. Princes learn to look interested in everything. But when he moved closer to examine the wolfsbane more closely, she could see the golden flecks in his dark eyes, could see how his pupils dilated slightly when he looked at her. And when their hands accidentally brushed as they both reached for the same plant, the way his eyes darkened, the way his gaze dropped to her lips for just a moment, she was imagining things, she thought, reading too much into innocent gestures. He was going to marry a princess someday. She was just nobody. "I should probably go," he said softly, but his eyes lingered on her face like he didn't want. "I have meetings this afternoon." "Of course." But he hesitated, those dark eyes searching her face with an intensity that made her breath catch. "Tomorrow?" he asked hopefully, and the vulnerability in his gaze made her heart skip. "If you don't mind?" "I don't mind." His eyes lit up with such genuine pleasure that she had to look away before she did something foolish. Like imagine that a prince could actually care about a servant girl. Like believe that the way he looked at her meant something real. As he walked away, she touched her cheek and found it burning. She'd spent the entire conversation trying not to stare into those beautiful dark eyes, trying not to imagine what it would feel like to have him look at her with love instead of just polite. Seo-jin thought to herself that he was being kind. That's all. She shouldn't make it into something it wasn't. But that night, as she lay in her small bed, she couldn't stop thinking about the way his eyes had darkened when their hands touched, the way he'd looked at her like she was the most fascinating person he'd ever met. It was probably just her imagination, probably just wishful thinking, but it felt so real when he looked at her like, so dangerously, impossibly real. 3 weeks into their daily meetings, Min-jun arrived looking different. There was something in his eyes, a restlessness, an intensity that made Seo-jin's stomach flutter with nervous anticipation. "Is everything all right?" she asked, as she noticed him fidgeting with a piece of bark instead of asking his usual stream of questions. "What? Oh, yes, fine." But his eyes were distant, distracted, not the warm, focused gaze she'd grown accustomed to. She frowned. "You seem elsewhere today." He blinked, then his gaze sharpened, focusing on her with that intensity that always made her breath catch. "You can tell? Your eyes give you away," she said without thinking, then blushed furiously. "I mean, my eyes." He moved closer, and now those dark eyes were studying her face with an attention that made her skin burn. "What do they tell you?" Seo-jin thought that he was beautiful, that when he looked at her like that, she forgot how to think properly. "That something's troubling you." she managed. He was quiet for a long moment, those expressive eyes searching her face like he was trying to memorize every detail. "My father wants to arrange a marriage for me," he said finally. The words hit her like a physical blow, though she tried not to show it. Of course this was always going to happen. Princes married princesses. That was how the world worked. "I see. Some princess from a neighboring kingdom. Very suitable, very advantageous for trade relations." His voice was flat, but his eyes were full of something that looked like pain. That's good. For the kingdom, is it?" He looked at her directly, and the intensity in his dark gaze made her heart race. What if I don't want what's good for the kingdom? What if I want something else entirely? Seo Jin thought she shouldn't read meaning into this. He was just frustrated about losing his freedom. "What do you want?" she asked, though part of her was terrified of the answer. Instead of responding, he stood abruptly and began pacing among the herb beds. When he stopped and looked at her, his eyes were wild, desperate. "Do you know what I thought about during yesterday's council meeting?" he asked suddenly. "What? You?" The word hung in the air between them like a confession. "I thought about how you'd explain the symbiotic relationship between certain plants, how they help each other grow, and I realized that's what I want. Not some political arrangement, but a real partnership." He moved closer, and the way he looked at her, those dark eyes intense and vulnerable, and full of something that made her chest tight, made her forget how to breathe. "I thought about how you listen when I talk, really listen, how you see me. Not Prince Minjun, not a useful political connection, just me." Seo Jin thought he couldn't mean what she thought he was saying. This was impossible. "Minjun, I know this is impossible," he continued, his eyes never leaving hers. "I know you're a servant and I'm a prince, and there are 1,000 reasons why this could never work, but I can't stop thinking about you. I can't stop wanting to spend time with you, to see you look at me the way you're looking at me right now." The way he was looking at her, like she was the most precious thing in the world, like she was everything he'd ever wanted, made her feel dizzy with hope and terror. Seo Jin thought this wasn't real. This was a fantasy. This didn't happen to girls like her. "I can't stop imagining what it would be like if things were different," he whispered, moving close enough that she could see every fleck of gold in his dark eyes. "If I could court you properly, if I could tell everyone how brilliant and beautiful you are, if you could what? If I could love you without it destroying both our lives." The words hit her like lightning. She stared into his eyes, those beautiful, intense eyes that had haunted her dreams, and saw nothing but sincerity there, nothing but love. Seo Jin realized he loved her. He actually loved her. "You can't love me," she whispered. "Can't I?" He reached out and touched her cheek gently, his eyes soft and desperate. "Because I'm fairly certain I already do." She thought this had to be a dream. "Minjun, please. I know it's selfish. I know it's unfair to tell you this when I can't offer you anything real, but I needed you to know that these weeks with you have been the happiest of my life, that when I look into your eyes, I see my future." A tear slipped down her cheek as the full weight of what he was saying hit her. He loved her. This beautiful, impossible man actually loved her, and it was going to destroy them both. "I feel the same way," she whispered, because she couldn't lie to those eyes. Not when they were looking at her. "Do you?" His thumb brushed the tear away, and the tenderness in his gaze made her want to sob. "Yes, but that doesn't change anything. You're still a prince. I'm still a servant, and you're still going to marry that princess." What if I refused? Seo Jin thought she shouldn't hope. She shouldn't let herself believe this could actually work. Then you'd be disowned, and I'd probably be executed for corrupting a prince. She tried to be practical, even as her heart screamed at her to say yes to whatever he was offering. "Your father wouldn't exactly approve of this conversation. My father doesn't understand what it's like to love someone." His eyes were fierce now, determined. He married for duty, lived for duty, and expects his sons to do the same. Maybe duty isn't such a terrible thing. It is when it means giving up the only person who's ever made you feel truly alive. The pain in his voice, the love in his eyes, broke her heart. She wanted to comfort him, to tell him they'd find a way, but she knew better. Palace romances between princes and servants didn't end in fairy tale weddings. They ended in exile, disgrace, or death. "What do we do?" she asked quietly. "I don't know." He pulled his hand back, running it through his hair in frustration. "I keep trying to think of solutions, but every path I imagine leads to disaster. Then maybe," she took a shaky breath, even as her heart rebelled against what she was about to say, "maybe we should stop seeing each other before this gets any more complicated." "No." The word came out sharp, almost angry. His eyes blazed with something fierce and desperate. "I'm sorry, I don't mean to sound commanding, but no, I can't give this up. Not yet. Minjun, please. His voice was pleading now, and those dark eyes were full of such pain that she couldn't bear it. I know it's selfish, but these moments with you are the only real happiness I have. Can't we have a little more time before I have to go back to being the dutiful prince who does what's expected of him? Looking into his eyes, seeing the desperation there, she knew she was lost. She should be strong, should protect them both by walking away. But she loved him too much to break his heart when it was already breaking. A little more time, she agreed softly. The relief in his eyes was so profound, it took her breath away. Thank you, but we have to be careful. If anyone suspects, they won't. He moved closer again, his hands finding hers, his eyes intense and loving. I'll be discreet. We'll keep meeting here, in the garden, just like always. Just like always, she repeated, though they both knew everything had changed. As he lifted her hands to his lips and pressed soft kisses to her knuckle, his eyes never leaving hers, Seojin tried not to think about how this would end, tried not to imagine the pain of watching him marry someone else, of pretending these moments had never happened. For now, she would take what happiness she could get, even if it was borrowed time, even if it would destroy her when it was over, even if loving him was the most dangerous thing she'd ever done. Their stolen moments in the garden be more precious and more dangerous with each passing day. Minjun would arrive earlier, stay longer, and find excuses to touch her, helping her reach high shelves, steadying her when she bent over plants, brushing soil from her cheek with gentle fingers, and always, those dark eyes would follow her every movement with an intensity that made her feel like the most important person in the world. Seojin thought he looked at her like she was precious. She shouldn't get used to this. She shouldn't let herself believe this was real, but it was becoming harder to remember why this was impossible when he looked at her like she was everything he'd ever wanted. People are starting to notice, she warned him one morning as she caught a servant girl staring at them from across the courtyard. Let them notice, he said, then caught himself when he saw her expression. His eyes softened with regret. I'm sorry. I know that's easy for me to say. It is, but she couldn't help the way her heart fluttered when his gaze lingered on her face like that, so tender and apologetic. I've been thinking about ways we might be able to spend more time together, he said, moving closer, publicly, without raising too much suspicion. She looked at him warily, trying to ignore how beautiful his eyes were when they lit up with excitement. What kind of ways? Well, you're the palace's most knowledgeable herbalist, aren't you? And I'm a prince who's developed a sudden interest in medicinal plants. His eyes sparkled with mischief and hope. It would be perfectly reasonable for me to request private lessons. Private lessons? In my chambers, or perhaps in the library. He leaned closer, his voice dropping, his eyes intense and pleading. Completely innocent educational meetings that happened to give us hours alone together. The idea was tempting, dangerously so. The thought of having legitimate reasons to spend time with him, to be close to him without fear of discovery. Seojin thought that was exactly how people got caught. Minjun, that's Your Highness. They both froze at the new voice. Seojin's blood turned to ice as she recognized the speaker. Prince Kang Min Ho, the fourth prince, standing at the edge of the garden with his usual cold expression. She thought they were caught. They were dead. Brother, Minjun's voice was carefully neutral as he stood and bowed. What brings you to the herb garden? Curiosity, Minho replied, his sharp eyes moving between them with calculating interest. I've been hearing interesting reports about your new hobby. Hobby? Your sudden fascination with medicinal plants. Very scholarly of you. The fourth prince's gaze settled on Seojin, and she felt like a mouse being studied by a snake. And who better to learn from than our resident expert? His eyes were cold, intelligent, missing nothing. When he looked at her, she felt exposed, like he could see every secret thought she'd ever had. Miss Seojin, isn't it? The poison taster's daughter. Yes, Your Highness. She bowed deeply, her heart hammering with terror. I remember your father, very dedicated man, very thorough in his work. There was something in his tone that made her skin crawl. I trust you've inherited his attention to detail. I try to honor his memory, Your Highness. I'm sure you do. Minho moved closer, circling them like a predator. Tell me, what exactly are you teaching my brother? Anything interesting? Basic plant identification, Your Highness. Preparation method. Nothing that wouldn't be appropriate for any educated person to know. How wonderfully innocent. The word dripped with skepticism. And you, brother, finding these lessons educational. Minjun's jaw was tight, but his voice remained pleasant. Very much so. Miss Seojin is an excellent teacher. I'm sure she is. Minho's eyes glittered with something that looked like amusement. In fact, I find myself curious about her method. Perhaps I should arrange for some lessons of my own. The suggestion hit Seo Jin like a physical blow. The fourth prince was known for his intelligence, his ruthlessness, and his complete lack of mercy toward anyone who crossed him. Seo Jin realized he knew. He knew exactly what was happening between them. That's very kind, Min Jun said quickly, but I wouldn't want to monopolize Miss Seo Jin's expertise. She has important work to do for the palace. Oh, I'm sure we could work something out. Minho's expression was predatory. After all, knowledge should be shared, shouldn't it? Especially knowledge as valuable as what Miss Seo Jin possesses. There was a double meaning in his words that made Seo Jin's stomach turn. She had the distinct feeling they weren't just talking about herbs anymore. I should return to my duty, she said quietly, hoping to escape before this conversation became any more dangerous. Of course. Minho stepped aside with exaggerated courtesy. But do think about what I said, Miss Seo Jin. I believe we might have much to discuss. As she hurried away, she could hear the two brothers continuing their conversation in low, tense voices. Whatever they were saying, it didn't sound friendly. That evening, as she worked alone in the herb preparation room, footsteps in the corridor made her look up. She expected to see Min Jun, but instead, the fourth prince appeared in the doorway. Seo Jin thought this was it. This was how she died. Your Highness, she bowed quickly, her hands trembling. Please continue your work. I'm simply observing. He entered the room, his presence somehow making the space feel smaller and more dangerous. You know, I've been thinking about our conversation today. Yes, Your Highness. About the value of knowledge, about the importance of loyalty. He picked up one of her prepared medicines, examining it with apparent interest. Tell me, Miss Seo Jin, where do your loyalties lie? The question was a trap, and they both knew it. With the royal family, Your Highness. Always. The royal family. How wonderfully vague. His expression was cold, calculating. But what happens when the interests of different family members conflict? She kept her eyes on her work, afraid to meet his gaze. I serve whoever requires my services, Your Highness. Do you? He set down the medicine and moved closer. Even if serving one person might displease another, I don't understand, Your Highness. Don't you? He was close enough now that she could smell the expensive incense on his robes. My brother seems quite taken with you, quite protective. I wonder what he's told you about our family dynamics. Nothing inappropriate, Your Highness. We only discuss herbs and medicine. Of course you do. His laugh was soft and menacing. But you're an intelligent woman, Miss Seo Jin. Surely you've noticed things, heard things. Your father was very observant. I imagine you inherited that trait. The mention of her father made her blood run cold. My father served faithfully until his death. Yes, he did. Right up until the end. Minho's voice was thoughtful, almost conversational. Tell me, do you ever wonder about the circumstances of his death? About what he might have discovered in his final days? Terror shot through her, but she forced her voice to remain steady. My father died of heart failure, Your Highness. Did he? The fourth prince studied her face carefully. How convenient. For everyone involved, the threat was clear, even if unspoken. Seo Jin's hands shook as she continued grinding herbs, trying to appear calm while her mind raced. I should mention, Minho continued casually, that I'm planning to request some private consultations with you about certain specialized preparations. I trust you'll be available when I call. It wasn't really a request. Of course, Your Highness. Excellent. He moved toward the door, then paused. Oh, and Miss Seo Jin, I'd be very careful about the company you keep. Some associations can be dangerous for everyone. After he left, Seo Jin sank onto a stool, her legs too weak to support her. The fourth prince knew something about her father, about her relationship with Min Jun, about secrets she didn't even understand yet. And now he had her trapped. When Min Jun appeared an hour later, she was still shaking. What's wrong? He asked immediately, his eyes dark with concern as he crossed to her side. You look terrified. Your brother came to see me. Min Jun's expression darkened. What did he want? I'm not sure. But he threatened me, subtly, but clearly. She looked up at him with frightened eyes. Min Jun, I think he knows about it. And I think he knows something about my father's death that I don't. Min Jun was quiet for a long moment, his jaw clenched with anger, his eyes blazing with something fierce and protective. What aren't you telling me? She asked. There's something else, isn't there? Something about why your brother is interested in me. He met her eyes, and she saw guilt there, along with the anger. Yes, he said quietly. There is something else. Something I should have told you weeks ago. What? Your father didn't die of heart failure, Seo Jin. He was murdered. And I think my brother is the one who killed him. The words hit her like a physical blow, confirming her worst fears. and opening up a chasm of new terrors. "Why?" she whispered. "Because your father discovered something he wasn't supposed to know. Something that could destroy my brother's plan." Minjun's voice was grim, his eyes dark with pain and determination. "And now I'm afraid you're in the same danger he was." As the full implications of her situation sank in, Seo Jin realized that her fairy tale romance had just become a nightmare, and she was trapped in the middle of it. What did my father discover? Seo Jin's voice was barely a whisper. Minjun ran his hands through his hair, his eyes dark with guilt and pain. Evidence that someone has been slowly poisoning the Crown Prince. Small doses over months, designed to weaken him gradually rather than kill him outright. Poisoning, the word hit her like a physical blow. "And you think your brother?" "I know my brother is responsible." Minjun's voice was flat, certain, his eyes blazing with anger. "Your father found traces of rare toxins in the Crown Prince's food. He was going to report it to the king when he died." Seo Jin felt sick. "So my father was killed to keep him quiet?" "Yes. And now Minho suspects that I know the truth." "That's why he's interested in you. He thinks I might have told you what your father discovered. Have you?" "Not until now." He moved closer, his expression desperate, his eyes pleading. "Seo Jin, I never meant for you to get involved in this. When I started spending time with you, it was just, I was drawn to you. I couldn't stay away." Seo Jin thought that even now, even in the middle of this nightmare, those eyes made her forget everything else. "But now your brother thinks I'm a threat. Now he thinks you might be useful." Minjun's voice was grim. "He'll try to turn you against me or use you to spy on me. And if you refuse, he'll kill me like he killed my father. Not if I protect you." She looked at him with something between love and despair, even terrified, even knowing they were both in mortal danger. The way he looked at her, like he'd fight the world to keep her safe, made her heart race. "How can you protect me? You're one person against the fourth prince, and whoever's helping him. I'll find a way." His hands found hers, gripping tightly, his eyes intense and determined. "I won't let anything happen to you." "Minjun?" She wanted to believe him, but she'd grown up in the palace. She knew how these games ended for people like her. "There is one option," he said quietly, his voice carefully controlled. "What?" "You could leave, tonight. I could arrange for you to disappear, give you enough money to start a new life somewhere far from here." The offer was tempting, terrifyingly so, but as she looked at his face, she saw the pain the suggestion cost him. His eyes were dark with love and loss, like he was already mourning her. "What about you?" "I'll stay. Try to gather evidence against my brother. Try to save the Crown Prince." His expression was resolute, but his eyes looked like they were breaking. "Try to survive long enough to see justice done. And if you don't survive, then at least you'll be safe." She stared at him, this kind, wonderful man who was offering to sacrifice his own happiness for her safety. The smart thing would be to take his offer, to run as far and as fast as she could. But she couldn't abandon him, not when he needed her, not when she loved him. "No," she said firmly. "Seo Jin, I'm not running." Her voice was stronger now, determined. "My father died trying to protect the Crown Prince. I won't dishonor his memory by fleeing when I could help finish what he started. It's too dangerous. Everything is dangerous now." She squeezed his hands, looking into those beautiful, worried eyes. "But if we work together, maybe we can expose your brother before he succeeds." "How?" "I don't know yet, but I have access to the royal kitchen, knowledge of poisons, and now I have a reason to get close to the fourth prince." She took a shaky breath. "He wants to use me. Fine, let him try. Maybe I can learn something useful." Minjun's expression was torn between admiration and terror. "I can't ask you to do that. You're not asking, I'm choosing." She stood up, feeling steadier now that she had a purpose. "But I need to know everything. What exactly did my father discover? What kind of poison is being used? How is it being administered?" For the next hour, Minjun told her everything he knew. The Crown Prince's symptoms, fatigue, confusion, digestive issues that came and went, the rare toxins her father had identified, substances that were nearly impossible to detect and even harder to trace, the timing of the poisoning episodes, always coinciding with private meals or special occasions. "The worst part," Minjun said, his eyes dark with worry, "is that it's working. The Crown Prince is getting weaker, making poor decisions. The court is starting to whisper that maybe he's not fit to rule, which would clear the way for your brother to take the throne." "Exactly." His voice was bitter. "Minho has been positioning himself as the responsible alternative for months. When our brother finally dies, and the physicians will say it was a long illness, nothing suspicious, he'll be the natural choice to succeed our father, unless we stop him first." "Unless we stop him first," he agreed, his eyes meeting hers with grim determination. They spent the rest of the evening planning. Seo-jin would continue her normal duties, but pay closer attention to the Crown Prince's meals and symptoms. She would accept the Fourth Prince's request for private consultations and try to learn what he really wanted, and she would document everything, just as her father had. "Promise me something," Minjun said as they prepared to part. "What?" "Promise me you'll be careful. Don't take any unnecessary risks. Don't try to be a hero. If things get too dangerous, you'll come to me immediately. I promise." He pulled her into his arms then, holding her tightly against his chest, his eyes closed as if he was trying to memorize the moment. "I love you," he whispered into her. "I know this isn't how either of us imagined love would be, but I need you to know that. I love you too." She tilted her face up to look at him, drinking in those beautiful dark eyes that had become her whole world. "Whatever happened, I want you to remember that." He kissed her then, soft and desperate, and full of everything they couldn't say. When they broke apart, his forehead rested against hers. "When this is over," he said quietly, "when my brother is stopped and the Crown Prince is safe, I'm going to find a way for us to be together. I don't care what it costs." "Minjun, I mean it." His eyes were fierce, determined. "I'll give up my title if I have to. I'll leave the palace, start over somewhere else, but I won't lose you, not after this." The promise hung between them like a vow, beautiful and impossible and desperately wanted. "You can't give up everything for me," he whispered. "Watch me," he said, and the love in his eyes made her believe, just for a moment, that fairy tales could come true. But as they parted that night, both of them knew they were walking into a trap that might destroy them both, and neither of them knew that the Fourth Prince was already 3 steps ahead, already planning to use their love as the weapon that would destroy them. The game was about to begin in earnest, and the stakes were higher than either of them imagined. Over the next few days, Seo-jin threw herself into her new role as spy with desperate determination. She paid careful attention to the Crown Prince's meals, noting which servants had access to his food, and when his symptoms seemed worse. She documented everything in a hidden journal, just as her father had done, but it was the Fourth Prince's summons that filled her with the most dread. "Miss Seo-jin," the messenger said, bowing formally. "His Highness the Fourth Prince requests your presence in his private study." Immediately, her hands shook as she set down her mortar and pestle. Of course, the walk to Minho's chambers felt like walking to her execution. When she arrived, she found him seated behind an elegant desk, writing with careful strokes. He didn't look up when she entered. "Ah, Miss Seo-jin, please sit." He gestured to a chair across from his desk, without raising his head. "I trust you've been thinking about our previous conversation." "Yes, Your Highness." "Good." Finally, he looked up, and his cold eyes studied her face with calculating interest. "I have a proposition for you." Seo-jin thought that here it came. Whatever trap he was setting, this was it. "I'm listening, Your Highness. I need someone with your particular skills to help me with a delicate matter." He set down his brush and leaned back in his chair. "Someone who understands poison, who has access to the royal kitchen, who can be trusted to be discreet." "What kind of matter, Your Highness?" "The Crown Prince's health has been concerning lately. I'm worried that someone might be trying to harm him." His expression was perfectly sincere, but his eyes were cold as winter. "I need someone to monitor his food, to test for any irregularities." The audacity of it took her breath away. He was asking her to help him poison his own brother while pretending to protect him. I'm honored by your trust, Your Highness." "Are you?" He stood up and moved around the desk, stopping just close enough to be intimidated. "Because I should mention that this position would come with certain benefits. A substantial increase in pay, better living quarters, protection from any who might wish you harm." "That's very generous, Your Highness. I can be very generous to those who serve me well." His voice dropped to a whisper. "And very unforgiving to those who betray my trust." The threat was clear. Serve him or die. "I understand, Your Highness." "Do you?" He circled her chair slowly, like a predator studying prey. "Because I should also mention that I'm aware of your friendship with my brother. The Third Prince seems quite fond of you." Her blood turned to ice. "We only discuss herbs and medicine, Your Highness." "Of course you do." His laugh was soft and menacing. "But men can be so emotional about their hobbies, can't they? So protective of their favorite teachers." He stopped in front of her, leaning down so his face was level with her. "It would be a shame if something happened to damage that friendship. If, for instance, my brother discovered that his beloved teacher was working for someone else, someone whose interests might not align with his own." Seo-jin realized he was going to make her betray Minjun. He was going to use her to destroy him. "I would never betray the Third Prince's trust," she said quietly. "Wouldn't you?" Minho straightened, his expression amused. "Not even to save your own life? Not even to protect those you care about? What do you mean?" I mean that loyalty is a luxury, Miss Seojin, and luxuries can be expensive. He returned to his desk and pulled out a scroll. This, for instance, is a debt notice for your family's farm. It seems your father left behind some obligations. Her heart stopped. That's impossible. My father had no debts. Didn't he? Minho unrolled the scroll, showing her official seals and signatures. According to this, he borrowed heavily from certain merchants to pay for your education, your position here at the palace. The debt has been accumulating interest. The numbers on the page made her dizzy. More money than her family could ever hope to repay. This is fake, she whispered. Is it? His expression was innocent, but his eyes were cruel. Prove it. Take it to the magistrates. Challenge it in court. Of course, that would take months, maybe years. And in the meantime, your family would lose everything. What do you want? Your cooperation, your loyalty, your complete and absolute service. He rolled up the scroll and set it aside. In exchange, this debt disappears. Your family keeps their farm, their livelihood, their lives. And if I refuse, then tomorrow, debt collectors will arrive at your family's door. Your elderly grandmother will be thrown out of the only home she's ever known. Your young cousin will never get the education your father dreamed of for him. His voice was conversational, but his eyes were like ice. They'll have nothing, and it will be entirely your fault. Seojin stared at him, trapped between love and duty, between protecting Minjun and protecting her family. The fourth prince had found the perfect leverage, the one thing she couldn't sacrifice, no matter the cost to herself. What would you need me to do? She asked quietly. Nothing too difficult. Simply continue your friendship with my brother. Listen to his concerns, his plans, his secret, and report them to me. You want me to spy on him. I want you to be my eyes and ears, to help me protect the royal family from any threats that might emerge. His expression was sharp as a blade, including threats from within. The choice was impossible. Betray the man she loved, or watch her family be destroyed. I need time to think, she said. Of course, but don't think too long. He moved to the door, clearly dismissing her. I'll need your answer by tomorrow evening. And Miss Seojin, I do hope you'll make the right choice, for everyone's sake. As she stumbled from his chambers, Seojin felt like she was drowning. Every path forward led to betrayal, to pain, to the destruction of everything she held dear. That night, when Minjun found her in the herb garden, she was sitting among the plants with tears streaming down her face. What's wrong? He asked immediately, his eyes dark with concern as he knelt beside her. She looked at him, at those beautiful, trusting eyes that had become her whole world, and felt her heart break. He wants me to spy on you, she whispered. Minjun's expression darkened. What did he threaten you with? My family. He has documents showing debts my father supposedly owed. If I don't cooperate, they'll lose everything. The documents are fake. I know, but proving that would take time we don't have. She wiped her eyes with shaking hands. Minjun, I don't know what to do. I can't betray you, but I can't let my family be destroyed either. He was quiet for a long moment, his jaw clenched with anger. Then he took her hands in his eyes intense and determined. We'll find another way, he said firmly. How? I don't know yet, but I won't let him use you like this. I won't let him force you to choose between me and your family. What if there is no other way? He looked at her for a long moment, his eyes full of love and pain and desperate determination. Then I'll make the choice for you, he said quietly. What do you mean? I mean I'll give him what he wants. I'll confess to whatever crimes he's planning to accuse me of. I'll take the blame, face the consequences. His voice was steady, but his eyes were breaking. I'll sacrifice myself to keep you and your family safe. No! The word tore from her throat. I won't let you do that. It might be the only way. There has to be another option. There has to be Seojin. His hands cupped her face gently, his thumbs brushing away her tears. Look at me. She met his eyes, those beautiful dark eyes that had haunted her dream. I love you, he said simply. More than my title, more than my life, more than anything in this world. If protecting you means sacrificing myself, then that's what I'll do. I love you too, she whispered. That's why I can't let you. Promise me something, he interrupted. What? Promise me that whatever happens, whatever choice you have to make, you'll remember that I love you, that none of this is your fault, that you're the best thing that ever happened to me. She stared at him, seeing the resolution in his eyes, the love, the willingness to give up everything for. Promise me, he said again. I promise, she whispered, though the words felt like goodbye. As he kissed her forehead gently and held her close, both of them knew that their time was running out. The fourth prince's web was closing around them, and soon they would both be trapped. The only question was, which of them would be sacrificed first? The next evening, Seo Jin stood outside the fourth prince's chambers with a decision that felt like death in her chest. She'd spent the entire day agonizing over her choice, weighing love against duty, her heart against her family's survival. In the end, there was no choice at all. "Ah, Miss Seo Jin." Minho looked up from his desk with that cold expression. "I trust you've reached a decision?" "Yes, Your Highness." Her voice was steady, though her hands trembled. "I'll do what you ask." "Excellent." He set down his brush and studied her face with satisfaction. "I knew you were a practical woman. Your family will be so grateful. What do you need me to do?" "For now, simply continue as you have been. Spend time with my brother, listen to his concerns, observe his activities." He pulled out a fresh scroll and began writing. "But I'll need regular reports. Every few days, you'll come here and tell me everything you've learned. And if he suspects something, he won't. My brother is trusting when it comes to matters of the heart." Minho's expression was amused, cruel. "He sees what he wants to see, especially where you're concerned." The words hit her like a physical blow. Seo Jin thought he knew. He knew exactly how Minjun felt about her, and he was using it against them both. "I understand, Your Highness." "Good. And Miss Seo Jin?" He looked up from his writing, his eyes glittering with malice. "I should mention that I'll be watching you very carefully. Any attempt to warn my brother, any sign of disloyalty, and your family will suffer the consequences immediately. I won't betray your trust, Your Highness." "No," he agreed softly, "you won't." As she left his chambers, Seo Jin felt like she was walking to her own execution. She'd just agreed to spy on the man she loved, to betray his trust, to help his brother destroy him. Seo Jin thought there had to be another way. She would find some way to warn him, to protect him. But even as she thought it, she knew it was hopeless. The fourth prince was too smart, too careful. He'd anticipated every move, blocked every escape route. She was trapped, and so was Min Jun. The next morning, when Min Jun appeared in the herb garden with his usual warm greeting, Seo Jin felt like she might be sick. "You look pale," he said immediately, his eyes dark with concern. "Are you feeling all right?" "Just tired," she lied, unable to meet his gaze. "Did you speak to my brother yesterday?" The question was casual, but she could hear the underlying tension. He was worried about her, trying to protect her, and she was about to destroy him. "Yes," she said quietly. What did he want? Seo Jin thought she should tell him, warn him, find a way to make him understand. But then she thought about her grandmother, frail and elderly, being thrown from her home, about her young cousin, whose dreams of education would die with their family's ruin. "He wants me to help monitor the Crown Prince's food," she said, the lie tasting like poison on her tongue. "He's concerned about potential threats." Minjun's expression darkened. "He's using you to get closer to our brother." "Maybe, but it might also give us an opportunity to gather evidence." "It's too dangerous. I don't want you anywhere near him." The protective tone in his voice, the love in his eyes, made her heart break all over again. "I can handle myself," she said. "I know you can, but I also know my brother." He moved closer, his hands finding hers. "Promise me you'll be careful. Promise me you won't take any unnecessary risks." "I promise," she whispered, the words feeling like another betrayal. Over the next few weeks, Seo Jin lived in a nightmare of her own making. She spent her days with Min Jun, listening to his plans, learning his secret, falling deeper in love with him, even as she prepared to destroy him. And every few days, she would report to the fourth prince, feeding him carefully chosen information that seemed important, but wouldn't immediately endanger Min Jun. It was a delicate balance, and she knew it couldn't last forever. "My brother has been asking questions about the Crown Prince's symptoms," she reported during one of her meetings with Minho. "He's trying to establish a pattern." "What kind of pattern?" "Timing of the illnesses, which servants had access to the food, what types of symptoms appeared." She kept her voice neutral, professional. "He's getting close to the truth." Minho's expression was thoughtful. "How close?" "He knows someone is poisoning the Crown Prince. He just doesn't have proof yet." "And he suspects me?" "He suspects someone in the royal family, but he hasn't named anyone specifically." "Interesting." Minho made notes on a scroll. "What else?" "He's been meeting with certain court officials, trying to build support for an investigation." "Which officials?" Seo Jin hesitated. This was the moment she'd been dreading, when the fourth prince would ask for information that could directly harm Min Jun. "Minister Park and Lord Kim," she said finally, naming two officials she knew were already under suspicion. "He's trying to convince them to speak to the king." "I see." Minho's expression was calculated. "And what did you tell him about our conversations?" "Nothing. I said you only asked me to monitor the Crown Prince's food for safety." She met his eyes steadily. "He doesn't suspect I'm reporting to you." "Good. Very good." He set down his brush and studied her face. "You're proving quite useful, Miss Seo Jin. I'm impressed by your dedication." The praise made her skin crawl, but she forced herself to remain calm. "I serve the royal family, Your Highness." "Indeed you do." His expression grew serious. "But I'm afraid I need you to do more than just observe now. I need you to take a more active role." Her blood ran cold. "What do you mean?" "I need you to give my brother some misleading information. Lead him down the wrong path, away from the truth." "What kind of information?" "Tell him you've discovered evidence that the poisoning is being carried out by foreign agents. Give him names, locations, anything that will send him chasing shadows while I complete my work." Seo Jin thought this was it. This was where she would have to choose between protecting Min Jun and protecting her family. There was no middle ground. I'm not sure I can convince him of that, Your Highness. He's very intelligent. If the evidence doesn't seem genuine, then make it genuine. Minho's voice was cold, final. "I'll provide you with documents, witnesses, whatever you need to make the story believable. Your job is to sell it to him. And if he doesn't believe me, then you'll have failed me. And you know what happens to those who fail me." The threat hung in the air between them like a sword. Seo Jin knew she was trapped. If she refused, her family would be destroyed. If she agreed, she would be actively sabotaging Min Jun's investigation, ensuring that his brother's crimes went unpunished. "I understand, Your Highness." "Excellent. I'll have the materials ready for you tomorrow." He returned to his writing, dismissing her. "Don't disappoint me, Miss Seo Jin." As she left his chambers, Seo Jin felt like she was drowning. Every choice led to betrayal. Every path forward meant destroying someone she loved. That night, she sat in her small room, staring at the wall and trying to find a way out of the trap that had closed around her. But there was no escape. The fourth prince had planned too well, anticipated too much. When morning came, she would have to lie to Min Jun. She would have to look into those beautiful, trusting eyes and feed him false information that would protect his brother's murderous plans. She would have to become the weapon used to destroy the man she loved. And the worst part was, she knew he would believe her, because he loved her, because he trusted her, because he saw her as his partner in seeking justice. Seo Jin thought that love would be the very thing that destroyed them both. The next morning, when Min Jun arrived in the garden with his usual warm greeting, she could barely look at him. "I have news," she said quietly, her voice steady, despite the storm raging inside her. "What kind of news?" "About the poisoning. I think I've found something." His eyes lit up with hope and excitement. "What did you discover?" And as she began to recite the lies the fourth prince had prepared for her, Seo Jin felt her heart break into pieces. She was betraying everything she believed in, destroying the man she loved, and there was nothing she could do to stop it. The web had closed completely around them both. 3 months passed in this nightmare of deception. Seo Jin fed Min Jun false leads that sent him chasing shadows across the kingdom, while the fourth prince continued his slow poisoning of the crown prince. Each lie felt like a dagger to her heart. Each moment of trust from Min Jun made the betrayal cut deeper. "The foreign agents you identify have disappeared," Min Jun replied her one more, his eyes dark with frustration. "Every lead goes cold, every witness vanishes. It's like they were never there." Seo Jin thought that was because they never were there, because everything she'd told him was a lie designed to protect his brother's crimes. "Maybe they're better organized than we thought," she said, hating herself for the word. "Maybe." He ran his hands through his hair, a gesture she'd come to recognize as his sign of deep worry. "But the crown prince is getting worse, Seo Jin. Whatever they're doing to him, it's accelerating." She knew why. The fourth prince was growing impatient, tired of the slow game. The crown prince's death was being moved up. "We'll find them," she lied. "We just need more time. Time is what we don't have." Min Jun's voice was desperate. "My brother is dying, and I'm no closer to stopping it than I was months ago." The pain in his voice, the trust in his eyes even as she betrayed him, made her want to confess everything. But then she thought of her family, of the threats hanging over them, and the words died in her throat. That evening, the fourth prince summoned her again. "My brother's investigation has been admirably thorough," he said with cold amusement. "Chasing ghosts across 3 provinces. You've done excellent work, Miss Seo Jin." "Thank you, Your Highness. But I'm afraid the time for subtlety has passed." He stood and moved to the window, looking out over the palace grounds. "The crown prince will be dead within the month, and when that happens, there can be no loose ends." Her blood turned to ice. "What do you mean?" "I mean that my brother's investigation, however misdirected, has made him a liability. He knows too much, suspects too much. He'll need to be dealt with. You're going to kill him. I'm going to arrange for him to have an unfortunate accident, a fall from his horse perhaps, or a sudden illness." Minho turned back to her, his expression coldly calculated. "These things happen, especially to people who ask too many questions." "No, The word came out before she could stop it. No? His eyebrows rose in mock surprise. Are you refusing me, Miss Seo-jin? I mean, surely there's another way. If he's chasing the wrong leads, if he's not a real threat, he's a threat because he won't give up, because he loves justice more than his own safety. Minho's voice was soft, dangerous, and because he loves you more than his own life. The words hit her like a physical blow. What does that have to do with anything? Everything. He moved closer, his eyes glittering with malice. You see, I've been watching you both very carefully these past months, and I've noticed something interesting. What? My brother is in love with you. Desperately, completely in love. He would do anything to protect you, wouldn't he? Seo-jin's heart hammered against her ribs. I don't know what you mean, don't you? His expression was amused. The way he looks at you, the way he hangs on your every word, the way he trusts you absolutely. It's quite touching, really. We're just friends. Are you? He pulled out a scroll and unrolled it on his desk. Because I have reports here of late-night meetings in the garden, of intimate conversations, of looks that speak of much more than friendship. The scroll contained detailed observations of their meeting, their conversations, even descriptions of the way they looked at each other. Someone had been watching them for months. You've been spying on us. I've been protecting my interests. His voice was matter of fact. And what I've learned is that my brother's feelings for you are his greatest weakness. A weakness I intend to exploit. How? By using you to destroy him completely. Minho's expression was predatory now. You're going to break his heart, Miss Seo-jin. You're going to betray him so thoroughly, so completely, that he'll have no choice but to give up his investigation and retreat from court life entirely. I won't do it, won't you? He pulled out another document, the debt notice for her family, because the alternative is watching your family lose everything, followed shortly by watching my brother die in a tragic accident. You said you wouldn't hurt him if I cooperated. I said I wouldn't hurt him immediately, but circumstances change. His voice was cold, final. You have a choice, Miss Seo-jin. Break his heart and save his life, or refuse and watch him die. The choice was impossible. Destroy the man she loved emotionally, or watch him be destroyed physically. What would you want me to do? Tell him the truth about your arrangement with me. Tell him you've been spying on him, feeding me information, betraying his trust. Minho's expression was cruel. Tell him you never loved him, that it was all an act to get close to him. He'll never believe that. He will, if you're convincing enough. If you make him believe that everything between you was a lie, and then he'll be so heartbroken, so disillusioned, that he'll give up his investigation and withdraw from court. He'll live, but he'll be broken, harmless. Seo-jin stared at him, seeing the perfect cruelty of the plan. The fourth prince would get everything he wanted, his brother's investigation stopped, his own crimes hidden, and Min-jun destroyed without having to kill him. I need time to think. You have until tomorrow night. The Crown Prince's condition is deteriorating rapidly. If you don't act soon, I'll have no choice but to eliminate my brother permanently. As she left his chambers, Seo-jin felt like she was walking through a nightmare. Every choice led to pain. Every path forward meant destroying someone she loved. That night, she sat in the garden where she and Min-jun had shared so many precious moments, trying to find the strength to do what had to be done. When he found her there the next evening, she was ready. Seo-jin? His voice was concerned as he approached. You look upset. What's wrong? She looked up at him, at those beautiful, trusting eyes that had become her whole world, and felt her heart shatter. I need to tell you something, she said quietly. What? About us. About everything that's happened between us. He sat beside her, his eyes dark with worry. You're scaring me. What's going on? Seo-jin thought this was the hardest thing she would ever have to do, but if it saved his life. I've been lying to you, she said, her voice steady, despite the tears threatening to. About everything. What do you mean? I mean that everything between us has been a lie. The feelings, the romance, the partnership, all of it. His face went white. That's not true, isn't it? She forced herself to meet his eyes, to see the pain and confusion there. I've been working for your brother, Min-jun, spying on you, reporting your activities to. No, the word came out as barely a whisper. Yes, for months now. Every conversation we've had, every secret you've shared with me, I've passed along to the fourth prince. Why? His voice was broken, desperate. Why would you do that? Because he paid me to. Because he offered me things you never could. Money, security, a future. The lies tasted like poison on her tongue. Because I'm not the person you thought I was. I don't believe you. Then you're a fool. She stood up, forcing herself to be cruel. Did you really think someone like me could love someone like you? A servant girl and a prince. It was always a fantasy, Min-jun. I just played along because it was profitable. Seo-jin, please what? Please pretend that any of it was real. She laughed, the sound harsh and bitter. "You were so easy to manipulate, so eager to believe that someone actually cared about you." "Stop." His voice was raw with, "Just stop. The truth hurts, doesn't it?" She turned away from him, unable to bear the devastation in his eyes. "I never loved you. I never even liked you. You were just a job." The silence that followed was deafening. When she finally turned back, he was staring at her with an expression of such profound betrayal that it took her breath away. "Get out," he said quietly. "Minjun, get out!" The words exploded from him with such force that she stepped back. "Get out of my sight. Get out of my life. I never want to see you again." As she walked away, leaving him broken in the garden where they'd fallen in love, Seojin felt like she was dying inside. She'd saved his life by destroying his heart. She'd kept her promise to protect him by breaking every promise they'd made to each other. And as she heard him sobbing behind her, she knew that some betrayals were so deep they could never be forgiven, even when they were born from love. The days following the confrontation passed in a haze of numbness for both of them. Minjun withdrew completely from court life, spending his days locked in his chambers or wandering the palace grounds like a ghost. His investigation into the Crown Prince's poisoning stopped entirely. He seemed to have lost all interest in justice, in politics, in everything that had once mattered. Seojin continued her work in the herb garden, but she moved through her tasks mechanically, her heart as dead as winter earth. She avoided the places where they used to meet, took different routes through the palace, did everything she could to avoid seeing him. But sometime, late at night, she would catch glimpses of him walking alone in the moonlight, and the sight of his broken figure would make her want to scream. "Excellent work," the fourth prince told her during their final meeting. "My brother has completely abandoned his investigation. The crown prince will be dead within days, and there will be no one left to question the circumstance. And my family's debt? Erased, as promised." He handed her a document bearing official seal. "Your family is free and clear. You've earned your payment." The paper felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds in her hands. Her family was safe, but the cost. "There is one more thing," Minho continued. "I'm transferring you to a position in the outer provinces. A generous promotion, really. You'll be managing herb cultivation for an entire district. You're exiling me. I'm removing a potential complication. My brother may be heartbroken now, but time has a way of healing wounds. I can't risk him discovering the truth about your performance. And if I refuse, then accidents happen. To you, to your family, to anyone who might threaten the stability of my future reign." His voice was matter-of-fact. "The choice is yours. But I think we both know what you'll decide." She was trapped again, just as she'd always been. "When do I leave?" "Tomorrow morning. A carriage will be waiting at dawn." That night, Seojin packed her few belongings with hands that wouldn't stop shaking. She was leaving everything behind: the palace, her work, and the man she loved more than her own life. As she prepared for bed, a soft knock at her door made her freeze. For a moment, her heart leaped with hope. Maybe Minjun had come to say goodbye, to tell her he understood why she'd done what she'd done. But when she opened the door, she found only a young servant holding a small wrapped package. "This is for you, miss, from the third prince." Seojin's hands trembled as she unwrapped the package. Inside was a small jade hairpin, simple but beautiful, carved with delicate flowers. The same hairpin Minjun had given her months ago, when their love had been new and full of hope. There was a note with it, written in his careful handwriting. "I don't understand why you did what you did. I may never understand. But I want you to know that what I felt for you was real, even if what you felt for me wasn't. Keep this to remember that someone once loved you completely. I hope you find happiness wherever you go. Min Jun." The note was signed simply, without his title, just as he'd asked her to call him in those precious early days. Seojin sank to her knees, clutching the hairpin to her chest as sobs racked her body. He still loved her. Even after everything she'd done to him, even believing that she'd never cared for him at all, he still loved her enough to wish her happiness, and she was leaving him forever. The next morning, she climbed into the carriage that would take her away from the palace, away from the only life she'd ever known. As the wheels began to turn, she caught one last glimpse of the herb garden where they'd fallen in love. A figure stood among the plants, tall, familiar, heartbreakingly dear. Minjun was watching her leave, his face a mask of pain and loss. Their eyes met for just a moment across the courtyard. She wanted to jump from the carriage, to run to him, to tell him the truth about everything. But the fourth prince's threats echoed in her mind, and she forced herself to look away. The carriage rolled through the palace gates, carrying her toward a future without him. Behind her, the crown prince died 3 days later, just as the fourth prince had planned. The court mourned the loss of the heir, and Prince Minho was named as his successor with little opposition. Min-jun attended the funeral but spoke to no one. Afterward, he requested permission to leave the capital permanently to manage a small estate in the countryside far from court politics. Permission was granted immediately. The herb district of Moonhaven was known throughout the kingdom for producing the finest medicinal plants. Under Seo-jin's management, the cultivation had expanded dramatically, bringing prosperity to the entire region. She lived in a small house on the outskirts of the main town, surrounded by gardens that bloomed year-round. It was a peaceful life, a useful life, but it was also a lonely one. She had never married, never even considered it. Her heart belonged to a man she could never have, a love she had destroyed with her own hands. Sometimes, late at night, she would take out the jade hairpin and remember what it felt like to be loved completely. She would think about Min-jun and wonder if he had found peace in his exile, if he had managed to heal from the wounds she had inflicted. She hoped he had found someone else to love, someone who could give him the happiness he deserved. The thought broke her heart every time, but she wanted him to be happy more than she wanted anything for herself. On a crisp autumn morning, as she was inspecting a new shipment of rare seeds, her assistant came running up with an expression of excitement and nervousness. "Miss Seo-jin, there's someone here to see you. A nobleman from the capital." Her blood ran cold. Had the fourth prince, now King Minho, decided she was still a threat? Had he come to eliminate the last witness to his crimes? What does he want? He says he's here about a business proposition. Something about expanding the herb cultivation program. Seo-jin forced herself to remain calm. "Show him to my office. I'll be there shortly." She took a few minutes to compose herself, then walked to the small building that served as her administrative center. Through the window, she could see a tall figure standing with his back to her, looking out at the gardens. Something about his posture, the set of his shoulders, made her heart skip. But it couldn't be. It was impossible. She opened the door and stepped inside. The man turned around, and her world stopped. It was Min-jun. He looked older, more weathered, with lines around his eyes that spoke of years of pain. His clothes were simple, practical, the garments of a country gentleman rather than a prince. But his eyes were the same beautiful dark brown that had haunted her dreams. "Hello, Seo-jin," he said quietly. She couldn't speak, could barely breathe. After 5 years of believing she would never see him again, he was here, standing in her office like a miracle she didn't deserve. "What are you doing here?" she finally managed. "I came to see you." His voice was careful, controlled. "To talk to you." "About what?" "About the truth." The words hit her like a physical blow. "I don't know what you mean." "Don't you?" He moved closer, and she could see the pain in his, but also something else, something that looked like understanding. "I know what my brother did to you, Seo-jin. I know why you betrayed me." Her legs gave out, and she sank into a chair. "How?" "He's dead. Minho died last month. A fever that the physicians couldn't cure." Min-jun's voice was grim. "Before he died, he confessed everything. The poisoning, the threats against your family, the way he forced you to spy on me. He told you. He was delirious with fever, rambling about his crimes. He seemed to think I was our father, come to judge him." Min-jun sat down across from her, his eyes never leaving her face. "He told me how he threatened your family, how he made you choose between betraying me and watching them be destroyed." Tears streamed down her face. "Min-jun, he told me how you tried to find ways around his demands, how you fed me information that was designed to protect me, even while it served his purposes." His voice was soft now, full of pain and something that might have been forgiveness. "He told me how you sacrificed your own happiness to save my life." "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry for everything. You saved me," he said simply. "You broke your own heart to save my life. How can I be angry about that? Because I lied to you. Because I made you believe I never loved you. But you did love me. It wasn't a question. You loved me enough to destroy yourself to protect me." She nodded, unable to speak through her tears. "And I loved you enough to survive it." He reached across the table and took her hand gently. "I've spent 5 years trying to understand trying to make sense of the pain. Now I know the truth." "What truth?" "That love isn't always about being together. Sometimes it's about making impossible choices to protect the person you love, even when it destroys you." His thumb traced across her knuckle, just as it had all those years ago. "You made that choice. You chose my life over your own happiness. It was the only choice I could make. I know." His eyes were soft now, full of the love she thought she'd lost forever. "And I'm here to make a choice too." "What choice?" "To forgive you, to forgive us both." He lifted her hand to his lips, pressing a soft kiss to her palm. "And to ask if you might be willing to try again." "Min-jun." Her voice was barely a whisper. "Too much has happened. Too much pain. has made us stronger, has taught us what really matters. He moved around the table and knelt beside her chair, taking both her hands in his. I don't care about the past anymore, Seo-jin. I don't care about the lies or the betrayal or the pain. I only care about this moment and the possibility of a future together. I'm not the same person I was, neither am I. We're both scarred, both changed by what we've been through. His eyes were intense, pleading, but we're also free. My brother is dead, your family is safe, and there's nothing standing between us anymore except our own fear. What are you asking me? I'm asking you to marry me. The words hung in the air between them like a prayer. I'm asking you to let me love you the way I should have loved you from the beginning. Openly, honestly, without fear or shame. You're not a prince anymore. No, I'm just a man who owns a small estate and grows vegetables for the local market. His expression was rueful. I can't offer you palaces or titles or riches. Just a simple life with someone who loves you more than his own life. That's all I ever wanted, she whispered. Is that a yes? She looked into his eyes, those beautiful, patient eyes that had waited 5 years for this moment, and felt her heart come back to life. Yes, she said, it's a yes. He pulled her into his arms then, holding her like he was afraid she might disappear. When he kissed her, it tasted like forgiveness, like hope, like all the dreams they'd thought were lost forever. I love you, he whispered against her lips. I never stopped loving you. I love you too, she whispered back. I never will stop loving you. As they held each other in the small office, surrounded by the scent of herbs and the promise of new beginnings, Seo-jin thought about the long road that had brought them to this moment. The betrayal, the pain, the years of separation, all of it had been necessary to bring them here, to this place where they could finally be together without fear. They had both paid the price for their love. They had both made impossible choices and lived with the consequences. But love, real love, was stronger than betrayal, stronger than time, stronger than the forces that had tried to tear them apart. And in the end, that was all that mattered. 6 months later, they were married in a simple ceremony in the village church, surrounded by friends and neighbors who had come to love the quiet herb cultivator and the kind gentleman farmer. Seo-jin wore the jade hairpin in her hair, and Min-jun's eyes never left her face as they spoke their vows. They had found their way back to each other through the darkness of betrayal and loss. They had learned that sometimes love meant making choices that broke your heart, but that true love could survive even that. And as they began their new life together, they knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. Their fairy tale had been darker than most, full of pain and sacrifice and impossible choices. But in the end, love had won, and that made it the most beautiful story of all. The end. This story explores the complex nature of love when faced with impossible choices, showing how sometimes the greatest act of love is letting someone go, and how true love can survive even the deepest betrayal when it's born from sacrifice rather than selfishness.